Hello, Ivy here. This week's podcast is entitled Media, Monarchy and Money. Episode 140. An introduction. This podcast will take a closer look, well, as much as one can, in a podcast without the gates of media hellscape opening wide and letting the clowns run free for a while. We're looking at the symbiotic relationships at play here between media, the monarchy, and the establishment. The following bullet points generally cover the discussion in this podcast. The list is as follows. We will explore how the media has historically shaped public perceptions of monarchy, from royal scandals to carefully crafted public images. Highlight key moments where media coverage either bolstered or undermined the monarchy. Analyse the quid-pro-quo relationship, exclusive access to royal stories in exchange for positive portrayals. Investigate how tabloids sensationalise monarchy-related content to boost sales. We'll have a look at how media conglomerates balance profit motives with potential pushback from royal PR teams. Outline the monarchy's financial sources, for example, the sovereign grant, private estates, and tax exemptions. Investigate allegations of misuse of funds or unethical financial dealings. Discuss the limits of royal influence over global media outlets. Examine how financial incentives and advertising revenue influence media portrayal of the monarchy. Discuss the economic ties between the monarchy, establishment, and key media figures. Explore how financial and political elites protect the monarchy as a stabilising symbol of tradition. Highlight any evidence of collaboration between the establishment and media to shape public narratives. Analyse the ethical implications of the monarchy's wealth juxtaposed against issues like poverty and inequality. The framework for this podcast discussion topics around media, monarchy and money. And our first section is the media's role, influence, dependency and agenda setting. And the first subparagraph of this section is about the historical context. We should all really explore how the media has historically shaped public perceptions of monarchy, from royal scandals to carefully crafted public images. There is plenty of evidence out there. One of the easiest ways to find evidence is to look at who or what has been in the news frequently over any given period. That is, days or weeks. That generally means that the media is asking the public to look in a particular direction, or event, or person, by using emotive headlines designed to increase anger and which will generate engagement for days. The result is that the public forget or don't even look at something else that may have been reported, and instead look at the metaphorical fire that was started a few days ago and is still burning ferociously. You can look back anywhere in the UK monarchy's 1,000 plus history and find out about who or what was the distraction story of that period in history. Once you see it, you will recognise it throughout history. The whipping boy phenomenon became the framework for distraction away from what the important folk in the monarchy were involved in and who had to be protected at all costs. Many of the people over those centuries were women. Here we are now, in 2024, turning back the clock and creating mayhem whilst planning equally, terrible things that the general population are ignoring and will realise the full impact when it becomes inscribed into the legal framework. Another subheading is highlight key moments where media coverage either bolstered or undermined the monarchy. You don't have to look far, and to give a modern-day distraction target, just think of Harry or Meghan, or both as a couple, used for distraction stories, and targets who make more money for the media anyway than the person or people in the British royal family who they do not want the public to criticise. Another target is slowly coming into the glare of the media at the moment. But that is more to protect others, whilst at the same time trying to appear as if they are protecting someone else. In reality, it is only a matter of time before that person will be considered officially collateral damage. Once the next heir is in post, just watch how the targets will contain new people. The news outlet who has been blamed for stating that one senior royal did in fact receive treatment for cancer and not pre-cancerous cells, as was reported by them in recent weeks, is now saying that they made a mistake and that the individual did indeed have cancer. The decreasing numbers of royalists who still support this entity is reducing in numbers anyway. And within that small group, there are some of the once loyal followers openly stating on social media platforms that they no longer believe that story. This crabs in a bucket behaviour should not be coming from any national organisation, and definitely not from publicly funded individuals. The constantly changing storyline has done it no favours, and the public relations teams behind it all appear to be like everyone involved in this game. All the players behave and utter words that keep them in employment or keep them looking good, when the reality is far from the official line, and most people in the country don't believe it. The reason it carries on as long as it does is because people have day-to-day issues that they have to navigate. And for now, they can afford to put the badly behaved rich people on a back burner. For now. That stance will change. Symbiosis with monarchy. Analyse the quid-pro-quo relationship. Exclusive access to royal stories in exchange for positive portrayals. Investigate how tabloids sensationalise monarchy-related content to boost sales. It is all about follow the money. That is what media, monarchy, and the establishment are focused on. Conflict and criticism. What about instances where the media has acted against the monarchy? For example, critical documentaries and exposés. The Channel 4 documentary is a case in point, and most of us know this is just the tip of the iceberg. As a starter, there is no doubt in my mind that UK media have known this for decades, not least because the practice of owning land has been going on for centuries by those who decided to take it, and the original owners of such land were left with nothing but to be in the control of the monarchy of the time and the establishment. There will be other news outlets who will take the risk of doing similar media projects like this in the future. And as the temperature grows in terms of having a republic, more of these types of media publications will emerge. Those who have kept quiet over the decades do so because they could not put food on their table without voluntarily locking the ball and chain attached to their ankles around the British royal family members. Every now and then they try and pretend that they will unlock the ball and chain and reveal something that the British royal family would rather not be aired in public, done as a warning sign. The special relationship is fragile, and one day it will break completely, and most of those involved will not be in the public eye beyond that time. The odd media person may find employment, but none will be revered or feared from that point on, and most won't secure employment, as they have proved over decades that they possess no ethics and they do not report ethically, and they too follow the money. The relationship between the British royal family and the Royal Rota, I suspect, is one where they neither of them like each other, but they protect each other enough to ensure that their bubble remains. The establishment also feels the same, and stays protecting and defending both, because it maintains stability of an institution and a way of life that they have enjoyed on the back of a figurehead family who are regarded like the Partridge family, but who, in reality, are nearer to the community of people who befriended the Cray twins. It's also worth looking at, if ever you sort of do any research on this, how media conglomerates balance profit motives with potential pushback from royal PR teams. Generally, I think the thoughts on that by the general public is they don't worry about pushbacks because all are drinking from the same trough for survival. The second section in this podcast is about the monarchy, wealth, power, and public perception. And the first subheading of that is money trails. Looking at the monarchy's financial sources, for example, the sovereign grant, private estates, and tax exemptions. No matter what name they give the financial account, the fact remains that every 2 years the monarchy's expenditure is assessed, and it either remains the same or funds are increased. The fact that there are less working royals on the payroll of the sovereign grant, but don't be confused about that, as there are plenty of other funds used, and to this day the number of people living on public funds has not reduced, and none of them are interested in funding a life outside of the royal protective bubble. Officially, the senior royals have reduced in number, but yet the family have just been given 45 million, an increase in funds. And since the last Queen died, none of those senior royals has been able to tick as many boxes, officially known as royal working engagements, which are nothing more than a photo op anyway, has even tried to pretend that they do even a quarter of those totals in the last 2 years since the Queen passed. The reality is that the UK public pay for a smaller total of senior royals who are not even pretending to do the same number of engagements previously, and the family have received this £45 million increase in funds. Make it make sense. Receiving income from the estates that they inherited from historical royals who stole land from vulnerable people, have continued the practice of entitlement with no care or concern about the mental or financial health of the people who have the misfortune to rent property from them. No other person in the UK has the novelty of choice as to whether or not they pay tax. The British royal family voluntarily pay tax when they feel like, and the amount they pay is never publicised. I use the analogy of crumbs being wiped off a dining table to the floor, and the hungry people in the vicinity are allowed to go and grapple for scraps once the royals have finished eating and drinking and walk away from that table. We, the population of the UK, are meant to feel grateful. There should be some time given and thought about the process to investigate allegations of misuse of funds or unethical financial dealings. There is zero point in me talking about this, as this is something that has gone on for centuries, and to date, even when it has been done in full sight and photos exist where there is zero doubt about the transactions and the mode of delivery, because the monarch is exempt from the law. In fact, none of the royal family have ever been punished for any crime. My feeling on that is that they all know too much about the others, and therefore minor or serious crime will go unpunished. And as all the legal entities are part of the establishment, none of us expect to see any change. Cultural symbolism versus modern realities. Debates about whether the monarchy's cultural significance justifies its cost. My personal opinion is that no modern society needs to have a monarchy. Its culture is right-wing, despite them officially stating they are not political. It is not even hidden now, and the most recent example is the 8-year campaign of the treatment of the only person of colour to enter that UK royal family, and the abuse that has rained down on her since, and the fact that 8 years later it is still continuing, tells most rational people all we need to know. To this day, the British royal family do not realise the amount of self-inflicted damage that they have done to the monarchy because of its treatment of a non-white person entering their family, and the fact that they have continued to try and destroy their family member because she dared to be more competent and qualified and experienced than all the British royal family combined. The world has seen and continues to watch as the UK continues to destroy itself since 2016, and they, the monarchy, will never come back from that treatment. It will ultimately end up in the legal process, and there is no doubt in my mind that the people who will carry the can for this collapse of the House of Cards will be those in the media, televised and printed. They will finally realise that in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of the chain of things, media personnel are cannon fodder to the royal family and the establishment. In time, there will be exploration of the public's opinion on the monarchy's relevance in the 21st century. Approximately a quarter of the population are royalists. Most of them mirror the age of the senior royals. Nature, on its own, will level the playing field. But before then, the other 75% will have had enough, and things will begin to change. The majority of monarchies that were formed are no longer with us. The few that remain will all disappear from view eventually. The UK monarchy will not be one of the last ones standing. Control of the narrative. Think about how the monarchy uses media to maintain its mystique and suppress dissenting narratives. That old playbook is wearing thin now. Looking at the limits of royal influence over global media outlets. That influence is reducing slowly, not least because they have witnessed the treatment of people of colour, including the Commonwealth, and those nations now have a changing view of the UK as a whole, and it is not going to improve. 3. Money, the driving force behind influence and control. Funding media influence. Examine how financial incentives and advertising revenue influence media portrayal of the monarchy. Always follow the money. Discuss the economic ties between the monarchy, establishment, and key media figures. The time span is reducing. When the establishment includes wider social groups from every societal tier, the monarchy and media will fall. If you look at the history of France and its monarchy, the establishment was initially made up of aristocracy and legal and police. Once people from all the societal groups, for example, working class, middle class, etc., including the clergy, once they came on board and were concerned about the way the French royal family were behaving and how they used funds and how there were people going hungry and generally poverty-stricken in too many areas while the French royal family were living the life. Once people from all the societal groups joined forces, things changed very fast. The clock is ticking on the UK and its protection pals in the top tier of society. It is only a matter of time before enough people from each of the societal tiers that we've spoken about in recent years, once there are people from each of those levels who have a problem with what is going on with the monarchy, the media, and the establishment, that is when things will change. And that is how things changed with all of the other royal families who no longer exist. Those monarchies are no longer here, and that's the vast majority of the monarchies that were in existence around the globe. If we look at the role of the establishment, explore how financial and political elites protect the monarchy as a stabilising symbol of tradition. That is already on a weak foundation. As I said, see my comments on French history, both in this podcast and in one podcast where I devoted it to comparisons between France and the UK and their similarities. Have a look at any evidence of collaboration between the establishment and media to shape public narratives. It exists. Every single article in every single UK newspaper, particularly the tabloids, provide an abundance of evidence. And what about the impact on the broader society? We should be looking at how public money is spent on the monarchy and the resulting societal tensions. It is obscene and offensive that people are having to choose, as an example, between heat or buying food, and then you look at the expenditure that surrounds UK monarchy. Just leave it at that. There are so many, and that, in my opinion, is obscene and offensive. Analyse the ethical implications of the monarchy's wealth, juxtaposed against issues like poverty and inequality. And, in my mind, that's beyond offensive. Key themes for future exploration. 1. Mutual dependency. How media profits from the monarchy, while the monarchy relies on favourable press to sustain its image. 2. Power imbalance. The monarchy and establishment have disproportionate control over the media, limiting freedom of expression. 3. Tensions beneath the surface. We need to delve into why the monarchy, media, and establishment may not genuinely trust or like one another, despite public-facing cooperation. Conclusion. Or conclusions, I should say, because there are a number of things that I've pulled into this final section of the podcast. 1. Historical impact of media on public perceptions of monarchy. Media has played a pivotal role in shaping the public image of the monarchy, often oscillating between reverence and scepticism. Royal scandals such as those involving King Edward's abdication or Princess Diana's relationship with the royal family have been sensationalised, altering public perception. Conversely, meticulously crafted public images, like those of the Queen Elizabeth II, are often aimed at projecting stability and dignity. 2. Key moments of media influence. Moments such as Princess Diana's interview with the BBC's Panorama in 1995, which highlighted issues like infidelity and mental health, significantly undermines the monarchy's image. On the other hand, events like royal weddings and jubilees are usually media spectacles that bolster the monarchy's standing by emphasising tradition and continuity. 3. Quid-Pro-Quo Relationship. The relationship between the media and the monarchy can be symbiotic, where media outlets gain exclusive access to royal content in exchange for positive portrayals. This mutually beneficial setup helps the monarchy maintain a favourable public image, while media outlets gain lucrative content. 4. Tabloid sensationalism. Tabloids often sensationalise stories about the monarchy to increase sales. This can involve exaggerating trivial issues or focusing on personal aspects of royal lives, often leading to a distorted public image, but heightened public interest and circulation numbers. 5. balancing profit and royal relationships. Media conglomerates may face dilemmas when balancing profit motives with potential royal pushback. Positive or neutral coverage can protect ongoing access to royal stories, while overt criticism may jeopardise those journalistic advantages. 6. Monarchy's financial sources. The monarchy's finances come from various sources: the sovereign grant, a government-allocated fund, income from private estates like the Duchy of Lancaster, and certain tax exemptions. These various streams contribute to the monarchy's wealth, supporting its public endeavours and private expenditures. 7. Financial allegations. Allegations regarding misuse of funds or unethical financial dealings occasionally surface, often scrutinised by both the media and the public. Investigations officially focus on transparency and accountability in how royal funds are utilised. Note the words: investigations officially focus on transparency and accountability in how royal funds are utilised. 8. Limits of royal influence on global media. The monarchy's influence over global media is limited, with various international perspectives often free from domestic diplomatic considerations. However, royal visits and international duties can shape foreign media portrayals, and in recent times, those visits just put additional nails into the coffin. Crowds are openly making their feelings very loudly known, both in the UK and abroad. The royals look distinctly uncomfortable, as they are only used to deference from the public. It is a different era now, and it is only going to get worse. 9. Media influence through financial incentives. Financial motivations, such as advertising revenue linked to royal coverage, can sway media portrayal. Positive depictions may attract more advertisers seeking to capitalise on royal popularity. 10. Economic ties with media and the establishment. There are long-standing economic connections between the monarchy, establishment figures, and media conglomerates. These relationships may foster a more protective media sphere around the monarchy, emphasising stability and tradition. 11. Protection by elites. Financial and political elites may support the monarchy to maintain socio-political stability and uphold traditional values seen as crucial to national identity, thereby influencing media narratives. 12. Collaboration to shape narratives. Though specific evidence of collusion is often hard to substantiate, there can be informal or formal collaboration between the establishment and media to sway public opinion in favour of the monarchy, particularly during times of crisis or when promoting a patriotic image. 13. Ethical implications of monarchy's wealth. The vast wealth of the monarchy, when juxtaposed against the societal issues like poverty and inequality, raises ethical questions. Discussions often focus on the role of the monarchy in modern society, and whether the privileges and financial perks they enjoy are justified in the context of broader socio-economic challenges. These points outline how deeply integrated the media has been in shaping not only the public perception of the monarchy, but also its overall role and sustainability in the modern age. Each of these aspects demonstrates the complex interplay between the media, the monarchy, and public sentiment. That's the end of this week's podcast. In terms of reference sources, there will be a few, as usual, links to various websites for you to have a look at in the future if you so wish to look at this topic in more detail. But on this occasion, because I've been doing, for a variety of reasons, not just for this podcast, but as part of researching, I have been purchasing a number of books and also just referring to books that people have given me to and said to look at, all to do with either human rights breaches or to do with what we've been looking at as part of this podcast, treatment of the Sussexes and the monarchy as a construct, and in the case of the UK monarchy, the people within it, and the impact that has, therefore, on society, many of whom are struggling, but we have a monarchy that seems to be growing in wealth. So in the reference sources, there will be a few books that I've listed for you to explore these issues, should you so wish, for you to look at it further, and if ever you feel a need to look a bit deeper into certain topics. So there'll just be a few of them there, but you will see from the topics and the titles of the books that some may be of more interest to you than others at this moment in time. But what I would suggest is that you sort of keep a copy of the link of the article that will accompany this podcast, and it's there then for you should you wish to investigate further in the future. So, as usual, I look forward to reading your comments and hearing how you feel about some of the topics that we've touched on. They're all quite deep, and there was no way you could have done those in great detail, but I think by sort of doing an overview, a framework of it, and then giving you web links and books and any research papers I come across on this topic, it's worth you sort of just making a note, bookmarking that particular article, and it's there for you to refer to if ever you need to in the future. So, as usual, it's goodbye from me, bye from Ivy, bye.